Hey everyone, Nick here back with another video. This is called the micro ad set theory. And the idea of this video is we're going to bridge the gap between everything we just covered in the last couple videos, market research, audience insights, and targeting. That was really all of the tactics, right? Those are the mechanics of how we're going to do what we're doing. And the micro ad set theory is the strategy of how I build my campaigns and the overall guiding intentions of what I'm doing, right? There's a strategy that combines with the tactics. They're two different things. The tactics are the mechanics. The strategy is the overall plan and the outcome that you're going for. So this is really going to bridge the gap between the next video, which is where we're actually going to start launching ads. That's really what the rest of the course is all based around, is launching ads and looking at case studies. And I have a lot of material to do and cover there. Some ads that I've already been running, some ads I'm going to be launching and doing live with the case study store that I have. I'm going to be doing e-commerce ads, lead generation ads, traffic ads, all these different types of things. And I'm even going to be looking for possibly a small business that we have within our group where we can run some local ads as well, so that we can hit the four major markets of people that are coming to use Facebook ads for either generating e-commerce sales, generating leads for your business, whatever type of business that may be, generating traffic and awareness for your business, or generating foot traffic to a local or small business and getting local people to come in. So that's all stuff that I've planned. It's very ambitious. It's going to be a lot of videos, but first we need to start with the micro ad set theory and really start covering this strategy. Now, this is actually something for those of you who may have seen this before. My micro ad set theory is something I released a year ago about now, and it's, for me personally, something I've been developing and using and working on for 2 years now, really, since I started getting introduced to Facebook ads. And I've developed it over time, perfected it. I've taken bits and pieces of what I've learned from others, like this manual bidding stuff that's in here now, and I've put it all together. Now, I want to start out by addressing the people who are already involved in Facebook ads. There's a lot of noise going on right now with people talking about, targeting broad as opposed to targeting precise. Okay, and if this is the first time you're hearing this, we did cover this in the targeting section, the difference between precise and broad. And the idea with the micro ad set theory has always been, for me, that you start small and you work your way bigger. And the reason that you do that is you start small because that's the most likely group of people to convert for whatever your objective is. If you're trying to sell, if you're trying to generate leads, if you're trying to generate traffic, no matter what, the smallest precise interests are going to be the people who are most likely. Because if you have 100,000 people that like cats and you have 10 million people that like cats, it's just basic common sense that the 100,000 people is going to be much more targeted and much more precise than the 10 million people. All right, that 100,000 is a piece of the overall 10 million, right? And so I start with the piece because I want to test on the most likely to buy. I want to make sure that the people, or the most likely to convert, I should say, the people who are the most likely, that the most precise ideal target customer that I can come up with, is where I start to make sure that my message is hitting with them, that my product or my service is hitting with them. And then if that works, I start to move out broader in larger concentric circles to be able to scale and get the message, get the product, get the service out there to more people. Now, that just makes sense to me logically. That's why I do it that way. But it also works in spending money and doing it that way. I'm doing it like that now. I've done it like that always. I'm not saying that there aren't other ways that can work. Please, please, please hear me on this. I'm not saying there aren't other ways that can work. But I'm telling you that I know this way works, guaranteed, for a fact. Okay? Now, before we go into anything further, I do want to say that the market research is the most important part, all right? And on top of that, actually delivering something of value and being able to convey that message correctly is also the most important part. They both supersede running an actual ad, okay? And the way that I like to look at it is, your creation of the ad and running the ad, it really shouldn't be all that difficult if you've done the market research and you've gone through the process that I showed you in the last couple videos. Because if you do it that way, it becomes very natural and organic that you reach and you get to the ideal customer. And then Facebook ads platform really just becomes a method of getting your message, your product, and your service out there. All right. A lot of people approach targeting and they approach Facebook ads like that's the secret sauce. That's not it. The secret sauce is your product or your service. The secret sauce is your value proposition that you want to deliver to the market. And even if you're just an e-commerce store selling, knickknacks and goods that are commodity items and they are just, impulse buys and they look cool, guess what? You still have a value proposition that you need to understand. And that value proposition is that you are actually delivering something that is going to either make them happy, or it's going to be something they need or they want, or it solves a problem, or it fits their style, it makes them feel like them. There's some kind of value proposition there that needs to be understood in order for them to pay for the money. Now, if you don't get that, then targeting's not going to work for you. And that's what a lot of people don't like to hear, because they just want to think that they can come to Facebook and that they can, they can get started with ads without really doing any type of work at all. And that as long as they understand some kind of secret trick within the Facebook ads platform, they're going to start making money. And that's just silly, no matter what type of business you have. So that being said, those caveats to introduce this, because I do want to make sure it's very, very clear. Product or service always trumps everything. The greatest targeting strategy in the world is not going to matter if your product sucks or your service doesn't actually deliver any value, right? So, on the same hand, though, the greatest product or service in the world isn't actually going to make you any money and allow you to build a sustainable business if you don't know how to get it out there properly and correctly to people. All right, so that's what all of this is all about. The tactics that we went over and using the ads platform and understanding the audience insights and how to do the research, and now the strategy for how we use all of those things to go about making our marketing goals reality. All right. So first I want to start with the biggest mistakes people make. Okay. And I'm going to, I still have this. This was one of my early things that I put up there. And there may be some people that disagree with this now, because there have recently been some case studies of people that are targeting very broadly and doing well with it. So I don't want to say that it can't work, but in my opinion, if you're brand new to this and you try to go out and just start targeting really broad, you're just going to lose money. All right. One thing that has always been true in any area of business, life, sports, whatever it may be, any area of achievement, is that masters make the difficult look easy, okay? So if you have somebody out there who's a guru in Facebook ads making hundreds of thousands of dollars and they're telling you that they're targeting broad, well, good for them. Is that going to work for you? Not necessarily. They're not giving you all the variables. They're not giving you all the details. They're not giving you all the facts. They're just trying to show you something to hype you up and to make you feel like they have something new, some kind of new silver bullet that's going to be the answer to your problems, right? So me personally, I don't go on hype. I go on what works. I go on facts. I go on proven, consistent methods that continue to work, that always work, whether you're business to consumer or business to business. And unlike most of these ad gurus out there, I actually do both, all right? I've done business to consumer very successfully, and now I'm doing business to business successfully while still in the startup phase of that. What I'm doing is still the exact same thing as the micro ad set theory, and it works, okay? I've already been able to build funnels on Facebook that convert high-paying subscription service B2B leads, and I've talked with people that have spent tens of thousands of dollars trying to run ads to generate B2B leads and have not even been able to do it and convert like one successful. So I do know what I'm doing in both areas, and I do know that the micro ad set theory works for both areas. So I'm still going to go out on a limb here and be 100% committed to myself and what I know works, and say that targeting too broadly in the beginning is not a good strategy. I think it's one of the biggest mistakes people make, regardless of the case studies that are out there. I believe in using precise interests to stack or behavior layering, okay? And we looked at that. We looked at that in the last video of targeting and the mechanics of how you can stack a bunch of precise interests, or you can take broad interests and you can layer them to get like a precise group of people. All right, I think that that's a really great way to get started, because that helps you narrow in on the most ideal customer, right? If you're taking all the precise interests that are only 50,000, 100,000 people here and there, and you're stacking them all together, now you've got a really targeted group of people that are very ideal for your product or service. Same thing with behavior layering. If you take 3 large interests that are all millions each, like say people that buy cat products, people that own a cat, and then people who love pets, right? And they're all millions of people deep, but by the time you layer them all, you get down to maybe 500,000 or 1 million people. That is a precise audience, okay? So I consider anything under 1 million people precise. I consider a sweet spot to start right in that 300 to 500,000 range, but I will still run audiences if it's down, even lower than that, like 50,000, 100,000, I will still test that if that's what the audience is on Facebook, right? We can only target by what Facebook has available to us to use. So we have to stay within their framework, which is why the last 3 videos were so valuable for understanding that. And, when we get all of that together, now we can actually use what Facebook is giving us and find those precise interests, and then we work our way up. Because the more precise you start, the easier you're making the work for Facebook with the pixel to go out and optimize, because you're giving them a much tighter shot group, right? If you give them just a massive area to go out, they might have to spend a lot more of your money before they start really narrowing in. It's a lot easier to narrow in and find those people out of 100,000 than it is out of 10 million, right? Like, again, this stuff just makes sense logically. That's why it still works. Another thing that can help you target is targeting by device or targeting by location. And I have these mentioned in here simply because they're starting to becoming a really great way to multi-touch, I guess, with placement by device. The whole idea right now is that you can reach people on mobile, you can reach people on desktop, and you can get across the same message, but in a strategic way, based on, say, maybe you are targeting people on mobile, because mobile traffic makes up a lot of Facebook's traffic right now. So maybe you're targeting them on mobile, but you're retargeting them on desktop. Or maybe you're targeting on mobile and then retargeting on both mobile and desktop. And, finding a way to get multi-points of touch in there. This is a really clever strategy that I learned from Ezra Firestone, who's like the leading e-commerce Facebook ads expert right now, and it's definitely something that you want to consider based on your audience and how they use. Maybe they are on their mobile during the day, they're on their desktop at night. This is all going to be down the testing and audience based, but it's something to consider because you can place by device, as I showed you in the targeting section. Geographic location. This is also something that is really, I guess, based on your product or your service. Like a local business, obviously you're going to just be targeting in your geographic location. But something like even an e-commerce store, if you have a product that is specifically meant, like again, we used a Texas example before, say you have some type of Texas shirt that you want to sell, you can target specific places in Texas, or, geographic location. These are some of the top selling states. So like with some of your e-commerce products, maybe you want to target the states that are more likely to buy in the beginning, or you want to split test states to see which ones do the best on some of your big campaigns. For me, I've considered, like, if I want to, with the B2B market, certain states have much higher population of businesses like New York and California, Florida, be able to target some of those businesses more based on thinking that there could be a higher demand there, instead of focusing on a state like Alaska or Montana, which are automatically going to be included in the algorithm when you're targeting nationwide. So these are just things to consider that help you not target too broadly, okay? the e-com selling process is not congruent all the way through, and I'm going to update this right now and say just the selling process in general. I mean, e-commerce is anything you're doing online, but the selling process in general has to be congruent. So this is a big mistake people make, is they'll put an ad out, but there's no congruency between their ad to their landing page or wherever that ad directs, their product page, their store, their website, and then there's no, you lose it. If somebody clicks on an ad and then the page that they go to, it doesn't feel the same, or it doesn't convey the same information or value proposition that the ad conveyed, then it's not going to work. You're going to lose that person. They're going to drop off. And this goes back to the conversion funnel that we talked about a few videos back, where you really need to make sure you understand the whole process of what's happening. The Facebook ad is just the beginning. It's just designed to get them to click. It's just designed to get some type of action taken that shows the first step of interest in whatever it is that you have to offer. The next step still has to pick up right where the ad left off, almost like a beautiful transition that walks them through a process, right, from whatever it is. And that's going to look different. If it's an e-commerce product, then that ad gets them interested and the product page sells it for them. If it's some type of local leads you're trying to generate, that ad gets them interested, and then the landing page gets them to commit to signing up for whatever your offer is, whether it's a discount or something like that. So no matter what, there has to be that congruency. And a lot of people are just creating Facebook ads, but not thinking about the fact that you should design a specific funnel for that Facebook campaign that you're creating, right? The whole idea should be to get a good Facebook campaign going and then have a funnel going. Now, your funnel can be as simple or as complex as you want it to be. For an e-commerce store, it could be as simple as Facebook ads to a product page to a checkout. That is a funnel, right? For a marketing agency, it might be a lot more complex. It might be an ad to a landing page, to a video explanation, to an offer for a free demo, to a phone, so your funnel is going to be complex based on the amount of effort it takes to sell whatever it is you're selling, right? So if you're just selling a $20 e-commerce product, there's not a lot of effort there. It's ad to page. If you're trying to generate a lead that turns into a $5,000 a month client, then obviously there's a lot more of a process there that needs to be followed, okay? You probably already understand the process within your business pretty well if you've been successful at any degree, and it's just about making sure you translate that correctly to Facebook so that the Facebook ads traffic you have coming in is converting. All right, and then these are just some tips here. Use the same images from the ad to the landing page. That helps keep it congruent. The cartoon idea now, the cartoon people, the 3D animation videos, they work really well right now because they're easy to understand, they're easy to follow, they're very they put the person at ease, like there's no pressure there because it's a cartoon person, which is somebody explaining something. So they work great. There's a lot of ways that you can incorporate that, and a lot of companies popping up now that will do 2D and 3D video type ads like that. You can even go right on Fiverr or Upwork or something and outsource that. And then ad tip, rhyming, asking questions. That's a great way to get people's attention because we have automatic little subconscious ticks in our mind that we cannot help but be drawn into. If somebody asks a question in the first line of the ad, our mind naturally wants to know the answer. If somebody's rhyming, we naturally want to follow along and see where the rhyme is going. So like those are just things that you can use within your ad to kind of generate interest to get that click, because that's what it's supposed to do. We already talked about the breakdown in the last videos where we set the marketing objective at the campaign level. At the ad set is where we do our targeting, set our budget, and then the ad is what our creative is that we're actually creating. This is the way that I set up my structure. The name for a campaign, I usually name the product and then the placement. So let's call it objective. So normally that's what I'll do. So like if I'm selling a trucker t-shirt, I would say trucker shirt conversions USA, right? And if you're only running in the USA, obviously you don't have to designate country. And then say in my ad set, I was targeting all people who like National Trucker magazine within the ages of 35 to 54, then that would be how I would type that out. It would be Trucker magazine interest 35-44, and so that's how, and I'll show you this a little bit more when we start launching ads, but that's the basic way that I structure how my ads are. Now we're going to get into the strategy, and I know that was a lot of introduction, but there's so much that has to be said here to make sure I'm setting you up for success the right way. I don't want to be like these other people out there that just make it seem like, oh, you do this one thing and you're successful. That's why there's so many disillusioned people out there when it comes to Facebook ads and marketing on Facebook, because of all the bad information that's been given by marketers or charlatans or wannabe gurus who are out there just trying to give you one piece of the puzzle to hook you in to their method, to their idea. So here's what I do, okay? Phase one is testing, getting data, and hopefully generating sales or leads, whatever your objective is. So I guess actually, let's call that conversions. So phase one, testing data, conversions. I launch a PPE campaign, which is now updated in Facebook to be called an engagement campaign. But that is synonymous with PPE if you see me refer to that, because PPE stands for page post engagement. All right, that's the type of ad. So this is how I always start. Now, I used to say $2 to $5 because I wanted people to be able to realize, your budget is up to you. But I would suggest now $5 a day is the minimum you start, because you really don't get enough data back at anything lower than that. I start all of my ads at least $5 a day, sometimes $10 a day if I believe in it a little bit more. But $5 is like what I'll start anything that I just don't know. I'm just launching an ad to see how the audience reacts and get some data. Okay, you can set your age to whatever you want. Usually I'll keep it 18 to 54, or if you feel like it's a product that can go all the way into the older generations as well, you can just leave that completely open, 18 plus. But I do that because generally I've found that my best buying audiences are going to be under 54. And at this point, I'm trying to get engagement. So I keep it open to 18 to 21, even though 18 to 21 is not necessarily a great buying audience. They're a great engagement audience. So when I'm running an engagement ad just to test my audience, get some social proof, and collect some data, then I'm running it usually in that 18 to 54 range. And using whatever interest. I start precise, remember? So that's where we're going to be in number 2. But this is why I start with an engagement ad. And this is still something I want to put out there. This is not just something I do. I do it religiously. It's woven into the fabric of my micro ad set theory. But a lot of people will still start a PPE ad because it's a great way to test. It's a great way to get some social proof. And also, nowadays, there's a real potential. It doesn't happen all the time, but there's always the potential with a PPE ad of making a product go viral, because the whole idea of an engagement ad is that Facebook is going out and trying to find people who are going to engage. They're going to like, comment, and share your post. Well, that comment and share is really valuable because if people will tag their friends, they'll share it on their profile. And if it's something that really connects, like you just found the right product or service to the right audience, well, an engagement ad can really help you start getting a lot of free traffic. And it's a great way to also get social proof on that ad. So when you move over to conversion ads, that you already have an ad that people have liked and commented and shared. It's not just a blank ad. Nothing looks more awkward than when you see a blank ad with no engagement on it at all. And every ad starts that way. But for me, it's always like I want to get through that phase as quick as possible. So I start the engagement ad to get that ad out there and see what kind of reaction I get. It's also collecting data for the pixel, and it's also can get you sales. Like I said, we're not just launching engagement ads to throw money at our ad without hope for sales. Engagement ads can definitely drive a lot of sales. And when you hit a product that goes viral on an engagement ad, you can make a lot of money with engagement ads, just like you can with conversion ads. And more to the point, engagement ads and conversion ads really target two different types of profiles within the same audience, okay? You set a marketing objective. If your marketing objective is engagement, Facebook is going to go after people most likely to engage with your ad. If your marketing objective is conversions, they're going to go after people most likely to convert on your ad. So it's like two different parts of the same whole. So I always start with an engagement ad first, because that's kind of like the way that I'm able to get quick feedback on whether this is going to be a good product to audience match or good service to audience match, okay? Mobile placement, you know, recently I've adjusted this. I usually start with now desktop and mobile placement. So I covered all this in the last videos, but again, this is how I start my engagement ads right here. Desktop and mobile, and then no Instagram, no audience, okay? And what I'll end up doing is I'll see how these work, and I'll split them if I decide to take the ad to the next level, okay? Which we'll show you then. So my concept, as I said in the beginning, is to start small and then work bigger based on success of the smaller ads. So I start by targeting the precise interest. I focus on the most likely group of people who would buy that product or service, and that's always going to be the precise interest. So you can test more than one audience at a time when you create your ad sets, and I'll show you what that looks like. But basically, you create a campaign, you go through the process of creating that ad, and then once it's created, you can now go into that campaign, duplicate the ad set, and just change the audience. And you can do that as many times as you want to test out a bunch of different audiences. And what I like to do is maybe have a few different audience groups that are all similar. So like if you're testing a cat product, maybe you have cat lovers over here as an interest, people who like love cats. Then you have an audience of, say, people who subscribe to cat magazines, and you use all the cat magazines out there. And then maybe you have one that's like people who own a cat and also buy cat products as a behavior. Like, so those would be three different audiences, and they're split into groups. So each group is like its own thing, and that way you can test and see which audience performs the best, right? That's called split testing. And you can do that all within the same campaign. You don't have to create a new campaign each time. So all that data leads back to the same ad, and you are able to narrow in on which audience is doing the best for you, okay? I leave the broad interests for later, because once I've proven my product or my service is ready to go, now I can start scaling in the broader interest. But I don't want to start scaling in the broader interest until I know that I have something converting, and I know that I have my message down. I know that I have the funnel down, right? Like, it doesn't make sense to me to start broad. I just really don't get it. I think it's a shortcut mentality. Targeting this way in the beginning makes it easier for Facebook to find your buyers, and you will be more optimized for sales as you scale later. All right, there's really no debating that, in my opinion, because it is going to be easier for Facebook to find buyers or convert on your objective the less that you give it to have to work through. And my ideal audience size is around 250 to 500K when I'm starting, but that doesn't mean I won't go up to 1 million. That doesn't mean I won't go down to 50,000. All right, that's just the sweet spot right here. Okay, now this is for, for e-commerce products or for anything really. I still do it this way. All right, I just want to make sure that we're not just thinking in terms of sales here. Winners will usually convert. Winners will usually show conversions in the first $5 to $10, okay? Your conversion objective may not be a sale, it may be leads, but either way, whether you're running for sales or you're running for leads, I still use the same information, because it's still, in Facebook's eyes, a lead is still kind of a sale. Like, there's no financial transaction there, but there's still a transaction. We talked about that earlier. There's still an objective that is being converted there. So, we're targeting precise in the beginning. That helps me determine in a more quick feedback loop how quickly this product may be. You know, you have some people out there that are they're just launching stuff and say $50 a day, and they let it run for 3 to 5 days, and they just look at it after 5 days and see how it does, and they're running it on a broader audience. And you can do that. I'm not saying you can't do that, but a lot of people don't have that kind of money to throw around, right? So especially when you don't even know yet what the results are going to be. I mean, that's talking about just blowing a couple $100s to find out if an ad's a winner or not, okay? If you're just getting started and you're trying to test the waters, that's why we start Precise, because you're able to use this micro ad set theory where you're starting with smaller budgets on a more precise level, and you're able to get quicker feedback because you're much more targeted, all right? Generally by $10, let's remove the 5. Generally by $10, I'm looking at it and deciding whether or not I'm going to keep this running. Sometimes I'll let it go past that, but honestly, not usually. So it's usually $10 to $15 that I've found. I'm looking for those conversions. That doesn't mean I won't let it run any farther than that, but there needs to be a lot of compelling evidence that this is a winner. So here are the stats that we look for when we're running engagement ads, okay? Number 1 is your cost per engagement. That is the overall objective of an engagement ad, your cost per engagement. So this is how Facebook reports your engagement stats for an engagement ad. It counts all the likes, comments, and shares on your post. And this is really powerful because it shows if your product is a good fit for your audience, or in other words, if you're actually targeted properly, if you found the right audience to product match. All right. Lots of engagement means people like it. No engagement means they don't. It's very simple, right? So if you're getting great engagement, then you know you found something that people like. If you're not getting good engagement, then either your ad is completely way off base, or your targeting is way off base. Okay. You want your cost per engagement. This is the important metric right here. And this works for any type of ad, any type of business, whatever you're doing. You want your engagement to be about 10 cents or under by the time you get to $5 total ad spend. And the reason that is just because as a number, I found that as a really good line in the sand. That's a really good metric to use. Anything under 10 cents cost per engagement is great. Anything right around that 10 cents mark, like 10 to 12 cents, 15 cents is okay. Once you start getting 15 cents and higher is a little bit high, but it could drop more over ad spend. But generally you want to be in that range and under, because if you're not, it's not enough engagement to spend ratio to show that you're onto something, right? Like that's basically what this shows. The lower your number, the better you're seeing the engagement ratio for what you're running. So if your engagement is up at like 40 cents cost per engagement, that means that you're way off, okay? And you just have to look at the variables. Either your product to audience match is okay and you created a really bad ad, or your ad is fine and you just have the wrong audience for your product or service. So it's always going to be one of those two things if your engagement is off, okay? One note here to mention, in the B2B market, engagement ads don't necessarily work all that well in my experience, because business owners are not really the type that want to like and share on ads. So there is that to consider based on what type of ad you're running. But in the business to consumer market, yes, absolutely, always I start with P2P. I still start with PPE ads in the B2B market sometimes just to see how it works, but I've noticed that it's a lot harder to get engagement from business owners because they're just really not that type of audience. So you want to see not only likes, but comments and shares. Of course, likes are cool, but likes are easy. Comments and shares are much better because it shows more action, more high value action from your audience. Especially if they're tagging people and they're sharing it on their own personal profile page, that's like free advertising. So that lets you know you've really hit the money if you're starting to get a lot of tags and shares in the very beginning. Especially comments when people are saying like, I want this, I have to have this, or, you know, like if you're selling e-commerce products, those are always a great sign. The more targeted your ad, the better your CPE will be, okay? But it doesn't necessarily show buying intent. And this is really, really important because at the end of the day, we're trying to get conversions, okay? So whether somebody's converting to a lead or somebody's converting to a sale, we still want that intent from the audience, and we measure that by this right here. This is a really powerful metric, probably the most important metric that you have in your entire Facebook Ads Manager, and it's your cost per click for your link. Okay, so assuming you're not just running some type of general awareness ad, you're always going to have a link in your ad that's either going to go to your store, your website, your product page, or your landing page, wherever it is you're sending those people that are interested. So this is something really important because, again, as a metric, you want your, now this has changed a little bit with the way Facebook has evolved. So I would say you want it to be in a range now. You don't necessarily want it to be under $1. I would say you want your range to be anywhere from $1 to $3, okay, by the time you're at $5 ad spend. And the reason for that is simply because of the metrics. All right, you need to think about how expensive it is to generate a click because there's a funnel here, right? There's a conversion funnel. Not every click is going to convert at the next stage. And then, of course, down the funnel, it gets skinnier. So the cheaper you're getting those clicks on the front end, the higher dollar value you're going to have as a conversion on the back end. For example, if I'm trying to generate leads for a business, right, and I know that any lead I convert, let's say I know that I'm getting clicks for $1, and then on my landing page I'm getting a 20% opt-in rate. Okay, that's really low, but that's just an example. It's an easy one to do. So that means that every $5 I spend, one of them becomes a lead. Okay, so that means that one lead now goes to the next stage. And then let's say my conversion rate is 30% from lead to sale. So every 3 leads I get, I convert one. So that means just to get a conversion now, you take that $5 and multiply it by 3. That's $15 to try to get a conversion, okay? Now, if my lead cost goes up, or if my CPC goes up to $3, then everything else just got multiplied by 3 as well. So now it's $45 to generate a conversion. Well, if each sale to me is only worth $30, now I'm in the hole, right? As opposed to my CPC being at $1, I'm 200% return on investment if at that level. So that's just a very basic example to show you why your CPC is so important, and why if you're at $1 to $3, if you're getting any higher than that, unless you have a really high profit margin in your product, it's really not sustainable, okay? Having a link click cost per click under 50 cents is amazing. It's excellent, honestly. Anything in between that 50 cents to $1 is really good. If it's for an e-commerce product, it's a little bit more common because people will click, and a lot of them will just click to see interest. And then we're going to remove that because I don't want to give you a high range. Getting high is like over $3 is starting to get really high. But do note that if you have a really high margin on your product, then you can have more profit built into there. So your cost per link can obviously be higher, okay? But this is really important no matter what, because it shows that your audience is not only engaged, but interested in buying or converting. So no matter what, you want to be looking for link clicks, because if you have an ad, so if you look at it like this, here's how you look at the variables. If you have an ad that's getting great engagement but no link clicks, then that means you found a good audience, but the ad you're running is just not getting people to click, right? So that means you should probably turn off the engagement ad because it's not really doing you any good. You've used it enough to get some social proof and determine that this audience is a seemingly an okay fit to take to the next stage, but they're not actually clicking and showing conversion intent. So you know it's pointless. You might as well switch over to a conversion ad and start optimizing for link clicks. If you are running an engagement ad, you're getting a lot of clicks, then you want to keep it running. And especially if they start converting as well, you can keep that running as long as you want to. You don't ever have to shut it off until it stops becoming profitable for you. But if you get to a certain stage, if you get to $10 and you're not you're not getting any conversions yet, you're not getting sales yet, you're not profitable on that yet, then you want to turn it off, because at $10 to $15, it's not going to turn around from there. You have enough data at that point, because we're targeting so precise that we know we're doing something's not working here, right? Into the last steps of phase one, when you find a winning engagement ad, you also want to create a conversion ad to the same exact audience, because remember, the conversion ad is the money maker, all right? The conversion ad is the one that is optimized for actual conversions. The engagement ad is optimized for engagement. So if an engagement ad is doing well, then it stands to reason you want to get a conversion ad up and running as soon as possible, because that is going to only enhance your objective of trying to get people to whatever that conversion is, whether it's leads or whether it's sales. The conversion ad is a different objective, as we talked about already, so it targets a different portion of that same audience. So you can have them running at the same time. You don't have to turn your PPE ad off if it's doing well. You can have that running and a conversion ad running at the same time, and they can both be helping that objective. But that's why you want to look at each one and test, because if the engagement ad is not working anymore, then turn it off. If the engagement ad's working but the conversion ad's not working, then you want to go with what's working. But I always start with that engagement ad and then move into the conversion ad. Okay, and I start my conversion ads usually by optimizing for add to cart if e-commerce. So, or if I'm going for lead generation, then I start with view content. Okay, and the reason I do it that way is because if you're in e-commerce, optimizing for add to cart is a really easy place to start, because it shows buying intent, and it's going to have Facebook going out and finding people that have real buying intent because they're adding the cart. But it's making it a little bit easier for Facebook, because they don't have to take it the next step further to purchases. There's a lot of drop off between add to cart and purchase, and your retargeting will help save a lot of those sales. But if you're targeting for purchase right off the bat, then it's going to make it a longer process for Facebook to really start zeroing in on your audience. Whereas add to cart, you're going to be able to start zeroing in on that winning audience quicker. And then for leads, I start with view content for the same reason. Optimizing for view content is going to start getting you a lot of link clicks and people clicking to view whatever your landing page is. But I won't start optimizing for leads until I've already started to generate some leads, right? Because it's easier for Facebook. I want to give Facebook the easiest first step that also helps me reach my objective, okay? And then I will eventually scale into a new objective later as I start to hit more, okay? So you'll create your conversion ad. You'll use the same targeting in the ad set for your engagement ad, assuming this is working well. All you have to do is use the same exact audience. And then when you go through the process, you'll use the existing post that you already created for the engagement ad, and you'll just grab the post ID and use that so that you can run the ad to the same exact post. Keep all that social proof, all that engagement on that same post. And then finally, what do you do if it's not working? So if you launch a engagement ad to a precise audience and it doesn't work on the first try, then it really comes down to the research you've done. Do you have evidence that this is a product that can get sales or that can get conversions? If you do, then try different targeting, all right? You may have to try a few different variables here, because like I said, it could be that you have the right audience, but you didn't create a good ad. So you can try switching up the image or switching up the ad copy a little bit. Or it could be that you have a great ad, but you didn't find the right audience. So either way, if you're not getting engagement and you're not getting clicks, it's one of those two things. And so you need to figure it out. And if you believe in that product or that service that you're offering, then it's just a matter of testing out different variables until you find the one that's working. Okay? And you can always try to skip right to a conversion ad if you want to. I'm not saying you have to start with an engagement ad. You can skip right to a conversion ad if you want to. and see if that works. You know, sometimes I'll be running an engagement ad and I'll have an idea that I think this is a good product, but it's not really getting me the results I want. So I'll just move over to a conversion ad once I have some social proof on there and see how that works. Okay. So that's everything for the first phase. I know that's a lot, but there is a lot in going into this strategy. It's taken me years and hundreds of thousands, well, over $100,000 of my own money to develop this strategy, and it's continually working for me. And not only for me, but we have lots of success stories from people in the Ecom Empires group that come from all types of different backgrounds, and not only success stories, but we have a lot of advanced, successful people in e-commerce that have paid thousands of dollars in other education and training who have gone through this and said that this is pound for pound, not only equal, but a lot of times better to what is out there on the market. So I'm 100% confident in what we're going through. This was the first part of the micro ad set theory. The first part was the longest because there's so much foundation that needs to be built for me to make sure I'm doing my due diligence. In the next video, I'll go through the next couple phases that we have here of actually getting into my process of scaling, using custom audiences, and then also using manual bidding as well. So, but the first step is the hardest because there's so much foundation level work that goes into just understanding how to create a good ad and what metrics you should be looking for and how to test, and, you know, but once you actually start finding in on a winner, right? That's what phase one is completely about. Phase one is all about testing and finding something that works. All right. Whatever your business is, whether it's a product or service, you're testing in phase one to find something that works at a small level. And when you find something that works at a small level, now we take it into phase two and the following phases, where all we're really doing is taking it to bigger and bigger levels each time to reach more and more people and convert on our objective more and more. So that's the split between the micro ad set theory. I'm excited to get into the next video with you. I hope you found this tremendously valuable for your business. And I will look forward to getting into phase two and the rest of what we're going to talk about in the next video. Thanks for watching. See you there.